everybody. My name is Meagan Keane, and I am part of the Pro Video team at Adobe. But I actually started my career as a filmmaker. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and what really keeps me engaged is the fact that the video and film industry is constantly evolving. There's always new innovation that's changing the way that we're able to tell stories. Most recently, that's AI. It's the topic du jour, and there's so many things that we really need to be considering as we're thinking about how AI is going to impact the film industry. And that's why we're here today, to talk with filmmakers, with creatives, to hear what they're thinking about, the questions they have as we forge out into this new venture with AI. And today we're joined by Vinnie Hobbs. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Happy to be here.
To give the audience a little bit of an understanding where your perspective is coming from, can you tell us some recent projects you've been working on and how you got your start?
So I got my start shooting music videos in Seattle for rappers, local rappers. Made my way down to the Bay Area. Continued that journey. I'm working with Dua Lipa on a music video at the moment. I'm also working on a couple other music videos that I can't say right now, but they're really cool. A lot of gore, a lot of horror involved. I just got done doing a Walmart commercial that's out. That was pretty fun. Honestly, it was about the director-editor relationship. It's really about strengthening that and having that kind of be the core of your creative expression.
Yeah, anybody familiar with your work knows like you've cut some of the biggest music videos. I mean, I feel like every year where I'm like, oh, Vinnie has a video in the VMAs again this year. But you also do documentary work, you do commercial work. I mean, a lot of the videos that you cut have brought new sort of techniques into music videos. Like I often will see something that you cut and then you'll start seeing it done again in other types of music videos.
Is that right?
How often when you are brought onto a project is the director or the creative team looking to you to sort of be a creative collaborator with what they've shot and how you're cutting it?
It all depends. Sometimes you really have to stick to the storyboard. They don't like when you go out of that. But of course, with who I am, I like to add something new to the table. Sometimes it works, sometimes I'll get shut down, but I think that's part of the process. It's always about trying new things and taking a risk, putting yourself out there. And if you get shut down, you just move on and try something else.
You have a lot of musicians and directors who have come back to you multiple times for, not just one music video, but again and again. Why do you think that is?
Sometimes having skill is half the battle, but you have to have those soft skills. You want to be in the room with somebody for at least 6 to 8 hours. So I feel like being able to man a room and just have conversations about life and get a little personal about things, it helps you understand how that other person thinks and how they feel. And that can somehow translate into the art you're creating or the videos you're creating. Knowing the program is half the battle, but having those soft skills and getting to know somebody like the director or the DP also helps.
So give us a little insight into your familiarity with AI. How are you using AI in your workflows today?
Well, of course, for audio and cleaning up things, it's nice. I can't wait for the day where you can just use generative fill to take out a C-stand or some small things that need fixing. But right now, we're in the beginning phases. So it's kind of hard to tell how to use it efficiently, but I know I can feel what's coming. And I can only imagine, of course, when I'm working on a project, I always say to myself, I wish I had this AI program to do this. So it's only a matter of time until that actually exists for me to use.
Yeah. But you are using some more of the assistive AI stuff, that not so much new pixels, but removing the annoying parts of your workflow, right?
So I am using AI mostly for sound. I do a lot of sound design, and that's been helping out a lot. Of course, with the new Adobe, you can make somebody's voice sound way better than it really does with the dialogue effects, SFX, and all that inside of it. So those are really fun. For a first cut delivery, when you slap on some new plugin, it can make it sound way better and make your first cut really hit hard. So little things like that are helping.
What are you most excited about in terms of the trends for AI or where you sort of see it going? What are the parts of your workflow that you're like, oh, when that gets solved by AI, I'm going to be really stoked?
Cleaning up small things. Set extension is going to be huge. I'm working on a video right now where you can just see everybody in the background, the crew, the dolly rig and all that. And I just wish I could just press a button and get rid of it. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of fine tuning involved, but going through that round trip process of sending it out, making sure the resolution's okay, the bit rate's fine, and then receiving that back in the same, high resolution format, that just takes time. And so eliminating that from the process will kind of keep you in line just with the creative editing and not the tech aspect of it, making sure that everything is technically sound when it goes out and then back into your program.
Talk to me about your creative flow. What does it mean when I say, like, when you find yourself in your creative flow, what does that feel like?
Sometimes I'll watch a movie the night before and just be inspired by one little thing in that movie. Like, for instance, I just saw the new Alien movie and I saw a cool edit that I just never seen before. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that in my edit tomorrow. That's going to, hopefully that hits. And sure enough, it did. The director loved it. I didn't tell him where I got that inspiration from, but it really depends on, your mood that day, what you're inspired by. Sometimes a small little video on TikTok can inspire you to do something. It really all depends. Sometimes your cultural background, what you're into, if you're into magazines, anime, whatever, it can really just shape you into a unique individual, and you can express that in ways that's really hard to explain in editing, but it will show. Yeah.
And what takes you out of your creative flow?
If I get stuck on something technical that's not working, let's say a proxy is not connecting to a high resolution media or something that has nothing to do with creativity, it will just kind of take my brain out of it. And then the frustration comes, and then you just kind of lose steam, and then you're done for the day. So if we're able to alleviate that somehow, I feel like, you can stay in that creative flow state, almost like surfing on a wave. And you can ride that wave back to the beach, and the beach, I guess, is the finish line. But yeah, that's if that answers your question.
Yeah. So how do you think that AI could help you maintain that flow state and not get taken out of your creative space?
Sometimes I'll get raw footage and it will have a C-stand or equipment in the shot, and I'm used to it. But sometimes when you have a client come over to watch it, it can just take them out of it, and they won't know what's wrong, but I'll know what's wrong. So seeing those little imperfections in the frame, things that need to go out for cleanup, those will help just have you or the client or whoever you're with in the room focus on how to make the product better or more creative. So that will keep you in a flow state, whether you're with a collaborator or by yourself. You'll just be able to hone in and stay in that flow state.
I think a lot of people maybe don't even realize that, like, all of the handovers, turnovers that happen in like a feature film happen for music videos. VFX, sound effects, color, like you go out to those creative collaborators. So as you think about the development of AI tools, what are the most important things for the industry to be considering as we're thinking about how this technology is evolving?
Well, for me, I would just, I want people to stay employed in this industry. I know it can create new jobs as far as like maybe fine-tuning algorithms and making sure that AI is suitable for where we're evolving in this industry. But also, I think it's going to eliminate some jobs. I'm not sure what jobs exactly, but I know that people are hurting at the moment. So just being a film lover and being in the industry for 15 years, of course, that's something that's close to my heart. So I hate seeing people out of work now. I hope it creates new jobs to enhance creativity and create new ways of thinking as far as filmmaking goes. And that in itself can evolve into a whole new thing in itself. But right now, I think we're in the middle ground where we really don't know how it's going to work or what that's going to be. So I'm excited and both like nervous, but hopefully with the new tools that come out, we can kind of get it together and learn how to interact with that, both humans and computers, to create something beautiful together.
What do you think the responsibilities are for creatives in making sure that this evolution happens in the right way? What I mean by that is, like, you as an editor, like, what do you think you can do to ensure that people's jobs are retained, or that AI addresses the things that you really want it to, versus, just because we can doesn't mean we should kind of.
Yeah, well, hopefully, let's say, for instance, a VFX artist, hopefully they are happy about AI and can work in ways that they couldn't before and create new things that we've never seen before, stuff that our brain can't even comprehend at the moment. So hopefully, maybe in 2 to 5 years, we'll be seeing things that we didn't even fathom, today or years ago.
How much of your workflow do you feel like is creative, and how much of your workflow is more just like dealing with the tech and not intrinsically creative?
Oh, it's both. Usually assistant editors help out a lot. Much love to the assistant editors. We need you. But yeah, of course, I don't want to get too technical, but sending out EDLs, XMLs, doing the round trip from color back into your program, making sure all the framing is right, speed ramps are correct. Those are really heavily reliant on assistant editors, and that's huge. Of course, in the landscape we're in, a lot of, you can be a one-man band and do it all yourself, from color to finishing, sound mixing. You can do that all in one program. So that is a great thing. So I feel like with AI, there's going to be more one-man bands, and that can create a whole new realm of content creation. And I'm excited for that, but I really hope our assistants stay alive in this industry.
Yeah, take yourself back to, like, you said you came up because you were creating music videos. Like, I'm assuming were just one guy doing it on your own. Like, how much is AI going to start opening up the diversity of voices who can be creating really cool stuff that, like, maybe now or in the past, if you didn't have the budget, if you didn't have the resources, if you didn't, that, like, there was more limitations?
Yeah, for me, I'm used to finishing my cut, sending it to a colorist, sending it to VFX, sending it to a sound mixer, other vendors. I think now in Premiere or with where AI is going, I feel like if you're a one-man band, you can actually make a product that looks like it went to multiple artists, like a VFX artist or a sound designer, a sound mixer. I think that's pretty exciting, having all those tools at your disposal to make something look like a final product.
With music videos, what are the turnaround times in terms of, like, when you receive the footage and when you need to deliver final?
That all depends. Sometimes with music videos, we need this tomorrow, or come to set, we need a rough cut today. That is usually unrealistic, but I've made it work sometimes. Actually, you should take that out.
No director should know that. No
Yes,
producer
yes.
should know that.
No, I'm kidding. Sometimes, a sweet spot for me is about 3 to 4 days. Sometimes I do need to sleep on it. I'll need to watch other videos, get re-inspired, just take my brain out of it and come back in with fresh eyes and see what's going on.
And how important is it for you to, like, watch through all the media that was captured for the project, organization, all of that in terms of how you edit?
If I'm going to get specific, I like to have a timeline with the string out of all the footage. I'll use chapter markers to describe what's in that section. I'll color code it because it's easy to just know, hey, red has the red gel lighting setup, or the purple has the purple lighting or the purple couches or the purple outfit. And,
So it's visual cues for you. That's how you're coloring your markers.
Color labels are so important for me.
How do you feel that AI might be able to help in some of that, like your organization, keeping on top of your media, what's there, what's not?
So that's one thing I'm actually excited for. Maybe I know sometimes there's like little micro expressions that I like to use. It's really hard to explain, but sometimes if you get to know an artist, you'll know what type of faces they like to make to really like put some oomph in that dance move or, really make them not look corny. But if AI is able to have some kind of emotion recognition or learn who you are as an editor and take that and remember it, and then let's say I'll have a Doja Cat algorithm, I guess, for lack of better words, and I get a new Doja Cat video, it'll know kind of what move she likes to do or what I'm personally looking for to see if it works, of course.
Yeah.
Who knows if it will, but it's something along those lines of remembering how you edit, prediction type editing, like, hey, I know you like to do this after a speed ramp, or I know you like to do this after a long shot. That might help give you some ideas to start with, and then you can take that and alter it after.
I like that. So it's like not necessarily edit for you, but give you suggestions of, like, this is your, like, what you might be interested in. Here's some options kind of thing.
Right.
Oh,
And of course, like, that's kind of scary because I feel like some people would just go with it, and that's fine. But for me, it's, it's getting an idea out there first, and then either hating it and knowing what not to do. That could be helpful too. Knowing what doesn't work obviously is like really helpful. Because you can do the exact opposite. I think little things like that. Emotion recognition is something that I think is going to be a little scary too, because I feel like that's why editors are unique in their own way, because you really understand the psychology of how humans work. And I'm not sure if a machine can do that just yet, but if we do get to a point where that happens, I'll be a little scared, but maybe not. I'm not really sure. It's an exciting time.
It is.
But there was a situation where Victoria Monet, love Victoria, we edit together in person. And I remember one time in the middle of the edit, she was like, AI could never do this, because there was just a mountain of footage and we had to find all those diamonds in the rough. And of course, she has a certain way she likes to look. I like a certain way of editing. So when we stopped and had a moment where she was like, I wouldn't trust AI to do this, that made me feel pretty happy. But also I was like, this could make the shot a little bit better looking too. But,
it's job security.
Exactly. Yeah. I just worked with Dave Myers. He's awesome. He did the first iPod commercial, I believe. He's amazing. Seeing how he works with editors and how he describes his notes and the words and the verbiage he uses to, convey what he wants is really cool. And I'm not really sure if you can type that in as a prompt and get that out in a video. So I feel like there is going to be a little bit of human touch when it comes to giving notes or making a product a little different than it was from the first cut to the second to the third, sometimes to the fourth.
Is AI as a topic coming up amongst your peers? Like, are you talking to other filmmakers, other editors about sort of the impacts or, you know, what you guys are seeing in the industry?
Yeah, it's 50-50 right now. Some people are excited. Some people are kind of stuck in their old ways. But right now, of course, we're having conversations about it. Some people are talking about, you know, what moves you make in, let's say, Photoshop or Premiere and using that for algorithms. And I know some people are upset because, you know, that comes from like your soul essentially, and it's going to be taken by a machine to then use for whatever else. And I know it almost feels like could be viewed as it stealing your intellectual property almost in a way. We don't know exactly what's going to be available soon. I know a lot of assistants are sending shots out for cleanup. I use that word a lot, but we all believe in outsourcing to the real creative artists who have been doing this for most of their lives. So of course we want to make sure they're employed and they're working on cool stuff and they're, you know, using their tools and skill set as much as possible. So we try to not bring in AI to the conversation too much, but we know it's there. We know it's the elephant in the room.
Isn't there some AI that can help you with this kind of questions coming from clients or, you know, directors or, you know, agencies that you're working with?
Yeah, for instance, I'm working on a stop motion toy commercial. I can't say for which corporation, but it's my first time working with stop motion. But of course, to have these toy figures move, you have to have something hold it, like a C-stand or a rig or like a clamp or something like that. So when you present a first cut, you're seeing these toys move with all these things attached to them. And I wish it was gone. And I hope that with something like AI, whatever that will be, in a program like Premiere, can just help take that out, even if it's a rough job, just to take it out so a client for a first viewing session can see it for what it might look like in the final process.
How important is it for you that the AI technology and these capabilities surface inside the tool that you're working in versus like having to go out to other things and then bring it back in? Like, how important is it that it's integrated native into your editorial workflow?
I think the one thing that scares me about that, not necessarily, it doesn't scare me, but I think adding more tasks to what we're supposed to do originally, which is creatively cut. I think adding more things like, let's say a client comes in and say, hey, well, can't AI just get rid of that? Or can't AI just make me look prettier? Then that will be another task you have to deal with when you really just want to stay in kind of like a assembly from beginning to end, rather than focus on little things like that here and there that will eventually be fixed in the long run. But I know sometimes it can stunt the creative flow by doing small little tasks like something AI could offer. But hopefully it's quick enough so it is easy and you can just click a button, maybe fine tune it, and then keep on moving. But I think as far as like doing an assembly and getting something finished from beginning to end, I think that's something that I hope a client doesn't expect or really just rely on most of the time from here on out.
When you say that there's danger or risk to that, like what's the danger? What's
I don't
the
think
risk
there are any dangers or risks to any of it. I think traditionally speaking, editors are used to cutting and creating storytelling, and
yeah.
you know, really paying attention to emotion and reactions and just having a feel that it's really hard to explain, but when you watch a full thing, it made you feel a certain type of way. I think that is really important as a traditional editor, and cutting a film or a short film or a music video with an intro of some kind with, you know, dialogue and all of that. I don't think there are any dangers to it, but I think adding more tasks to what we do might be a little overwhelming. And burnout is a real thing in this industry. Computer burnout is so real. And I think anybody who's experienced that knows that it can really affect you creatively. It can just put you in a bad place. So hopefully with all these additional things that we might be faced with, hopefully that doesn't create just a massive burnout, but it might do the opposite. It might help us not burn out and do more cool stuff and actually motivate us to do more creative things or add more to the table when it comes to creating an edit.
Give you more time to actually focus on the creative versus some of the more sort of non-creative things that you're having to do.
And that's only if it takes a while and becomes tedious. But I think the whole goal of AI is to make things not so tedious. But we all know that it will have to be fine-tuned to a certain degree. But for small little things here and there that will just annoy you, you can get rid of that, hopefully, by the click of a button.
Working on the super high-end stuff that you work on, how long do you think before like generative AI video is really going to be something like of a quality that you could actually incorporate into your edits?
I hope that happens soon. I'm not sure if it's going to be one of those things where, oh yeah, it all looks the same now. Oh yeah, they just used that one AI program called this. You can tell they used that. Hopefully we get to a point where it might not be cool to use whatever preset an AI program gives you. And I think being able to think outside the box and create something new that we haven't seen is going to be the new cool thing.
Yeah, like a whole new creative discipline that is like knowing how to master the different AI models and technologies.
Exactly. Less copy and paste and more fine-tuning yourself and really showing who you are and what you think about what a product needs.
That's cool. So how important would you say it is for young people who are like wanting to get their start in the industry to really start mastering and understanding what AI is capable of?
I think it's going to be very important. I think it's going to be good to be familiar with at least how programs work. You don't necessarily have to master it, but just knowing where they're headed and the direction they're going in is going to be really important. I know back in 2009, 2010, the DSLR era, I think a lot of people, the old-fashioned people, were kind of against it. If it's not film, I don't want it. But of course, years later, they're using digital cameras for either a pickup shot or a beat cam or something along those lines. I can make the analogy that we're kind of in that DSLR film to digital era, where we're going from like manual visual enhancement to now doing that manually to using AI to enhance that.
Well, I feel like for a long time, we've talked about editing as like your toolbox, right? Like you have different tools in your toolbox. You go to different tools depending on what the job is. How much is AI just going to be another tool that you have at your disposal? And you're not necessarily going to always use that hammer, but like that it's there if the job calls for it.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that day. I can't wait for the day where, I can make somebody turn into a monster if I'm editing like a horror music video or, add blood or, squibs that weren't there. Just even though you can do that now, it just takes time and it takes, a real eye to really see how that can look real and not fake. So hopefully AI can be there in your back pocket to make something better as far as maybe a first cut goes, because it can make you really feel what a product would look like in the final stages from beginning to final export. I guess what I'm saying is getting a first cut close to a final cut, as far as maybe adding VFX and other visual enhancements go, that's going to be really exciting.
How do we make tools that improve automation but don't limit creative thought or creative expression?
I think getting to a starting point, like we were talking about, seeing what it can do, maybe have a preset here and there. I guess for an example, cut this footage to the beat on the snare line. For music videos, for instance, if you want AI to cut to a drum line or a snare line or a bass line just to get a creative rhythm going, that could be cool just to see where it's going, and then you can fine tune it from there. But I always feel like no matter where AI goes, you're going to have to do something to it manually or enhance it yourself or fine tune it, like I've been saying, yourself, to get it to a state where it doesn't feel so robotic in a way.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like AI is based on all that has come before it, right? It's like it is built on what's known that exists. And so much of what's really interesting about different editors' choices or different filmmakers' choices is the unexpected, where you like make a choice that isn't necessarily what someone would expect you're going to do, doing something different, is sort of where some of the coolest creative products come from.
Yeah, you got to draw inspiration from something. I know you get a lot of respect for creating something that comes from the heart or something that didn't need AI. I almost feel like we're going to hit a point where it's going to be cool to not use AI. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that right now. Who knows, 5 years from now, it could be totally wrong. But there might be a time where everything looks the same, kind of robotic, like I was saying. And we might revert back to going to the artist and how they like to work things out themselves.
Yeah, practical. I mean, it's like, Sim, you work so much in music, right? Like there has been that like, oh, let's go back to analog. Let's make some choices that has that sort of grittiness or that sound, or I could totally see that happening.
Right, yeah, let's go. Let's take it old school. Let's go back,
exactly.
Go back to the old days with this one, yeah.
Exactly. So generative AI versus assistive AI. What do you? How would you describe those two different sort of categories of?
You tell me. You tell me. Right now, I'm still a little unsure. I know generative fill in Photoshop is nice, but I'm still trying to differentiate what the two are.
Okay. Yeah. So the way we talk about it is assistive AI is really those features that are about removing the time-consuming stuff, removing the tedious parts of your workflow. So like speech to text or auto reframe or enhanced speech. Then generative AI is creating new media from ideas in your head. So like net new pixels, net new waveforms. Some of the stuff that we've even, the exploration that we've shared is like generative extend. So that nightmare that when you come up on an edit and it's like insufficient media, you're like, oh, but it's not hitting on that snare. Like if I could just pull it, eke it out a little.
Yeah.
We are really trying to think about generative AI as still addressing customer tedium and pain points, places where you're like, oh God, like that has taken me out of my creative flow. That place where you're like, oh, this edit's gonna just hit, and you're like, I don't have the frames for it.
Yeah. That's a good question. Because there are so many mistakes made on set. I'm in situations where I'm like, why didn't they do this on set? Why are they making me do this? But hopefully, AI can prevent me from doing that so much. Of course, I'm going to always be like that. We're editors. We're always complaining. So hopefully that gets cut in half pretty soon. Yeah.
Nice. How important do you think it is for editors, for filmmakers, for creatives of all types to be sort of keeping themselves informed, being aware, participating in these kinds of conversations as we're sort of actively defining the way this is all going to go?
Hopefully it doesn't create a divide where people are just left behind and the new people that were able to adapt are now the sought after editors or filmmakers. I think it's going to be really important to at least be familiar with where we're headed, wherever that is. Hopefully people aren't too stubborn and just bring a little bit of AI into their workflow, because I know I'm using it for some things and it's helping out a lot. And I'm only excited to see where and how far it goes as far as those pain points, like you were saying, where you just click a button and boom, gone. Back to editing now. And one thing I'm really excited for too is I was thinking about language processing editing, where you can talk to your program and have it do things for you in the background, something along those lines. Like, hey, find me a close-up shot of a girl smiling, and they can have that work for you in the background. And then when you need it, you can just plop on over to that section and grab that shot that you asked for.
The way that we're talking about it at Adobe is like media intelligence, so that you can sort of, what footage you have, and then you can, use the media intelligence to help you.
Yeah. So I hope we get to a point where, like I was saying with the string outs earlier, where I see all my footage, I can just ask Adobe or whatever program, find me all the shots of close-ups of people smiling or laughing. And I can have a timeline of just that, and I can pick and choose what I like and select the best of the best, or what lends well to the scene or the cut I'm making. That would be nice, instead of scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and finding that diamond in the rough. It would be nice to have it do it automatically for you. But of course, as far as like how it makes you feel as a human, I'm not sure if it will be able to do that, but at least it will be able to organize it in a fashion where it's easy to pinpoint those things.
Absolutely.
Meagan, we met 7 years ago and we had a completely different conversation. 7 years later, we're talking about something completely different. So who knows, 7 years from now, what we'll be talking about.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the most exciting, and like the part that keeps me so invested in this industry is that there's always a new topic, and yet the concerns, the questions, the like fear kind of is the same. Like when we were talking about the transition from film to digital, it was like, oh, well, is the quality going to be good enough? Like, oh, video is never going to be as good as film was. Or, what about job loss? What about film loaders? Like, or, there are these similar topics, even though the big topic is totally different.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? I have no idea what we'll be speaking about in 7 years, but it might be through robotic voices on Zoom on the moon. Who knows? We'll see.
I love it. Yeah. Well, Vinnie, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I'm so happy to have your voice as part of this conversation. And it's important that we continue to make space for these conversations. So leave your comments, ask your questions, let us know what you're thinking about, and stay tuned for more.